good, y'all? This is Joey. I'm going to show you today how to loop with the Roland JDXi, a DittoX4, a guitar, and a speaker that has two inputs on it. Quick rundown of everything. I have a guitar that is connected to the DittoX4 looper with the mono input, and then there's a mono output, and there's a cable that goes to the back of the speaker here. From there, the DittoX4 has a MIDI cable. There's a MIDI cable connected from the DittoX4 to the MIDI connection on the back of the JDXi. And then the JDXi has a mono output, which I'm using this blue cable here, if you can tell. There's a blue audio cable that's going to the second input on this PA speaker. And now I'm going to go into further detail, but that's just the general setup of what we're working with today. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty of things. Let's take a look at the DittoX4. On here we've got the guitar coming in. There's a input, that's where our guitar is going. There's an output, that's where the guitar is leaving this looper and going to the PA speaker. And then there is a MIDI cable. This is the MIDI in, because what's happening here is I want the tempo from the JDXi to travel down the MIDI cable and send the tempo information to this looper so that it will be in sync with the patterns, the loops on the JDXi. So that's the guitar looping setup part of it. The JDXi audio is not being ran into the DittoX4 at all. The audio from the JDXi is going to go to the speaker. I'm not having any of that, just only guitar is going through the DittoX4. Because the JDXi kind of serves as its own way of being a looper and stacking loops as you create music. So it's kind of pointless to have it go through the DittoX4 when you can, if you want to add drum parts or synth parts, you can just have it playing its 4-bar loop and then just record on top of it if you want. So now on the JDXi, this is pretty simple. We're going to take a look at that MIDI cable. The MIDI cable is connected to the MIDI out. So you'll use the MIDI out and travels down this MIDI cable to the MIDI in of the DittoX4. The DittoX4 has what's called a MIDI through. So you can keep your chain going if you want. If there is another device that you want to connect via MIDI, you can do that with the MIDI through on the DittoX4. The audio on the JDXi is pretty straightforward. It's just going to leave this mono output and go into a speaker. You can use the stereo output. I just use the mono for simplicity's sake of this video and less cables. On here, your settings, the main thing with all this stuff here is you need to go into menu, go into, so yeah, you want to go to the MIDI area. Just to see my MIDI settings, let's just go through it. I have local switch on. I have this off. I have this off. I have this off. Sync mode. I have this set to master. That's what you want it set to. If it's set to slave, you don't want that for this kind of looping. You want to set it to master. So make sure it's set to master. That's the key to all this. This is saying it's going to set the tempo. It's the master in the chain, and it will send it through the MIDI to the DittoX4. Clock source, I have it set to MIDI. And this setting, I have it set to vendor. I don't know if that's necessary for the looping side of it. So make sure all that's good to go. And then now I'll show you kind of a demonstration of how we'll create a pattern and loop the guitar part for it. Alright, let's make a basic tune with all this. I've got my guitar in my one hand and I'm kind of just crouched on the floor doing all this. So I'm going to do a drum part first. Let's get a kick going, a snare going, and a hi-hat. So just a basic beat. I'm going to slow it down. can change the kit over to. And I'll go in and add a little synth part just to show you some ideas you can do.